together in over
a year.
Actually, it's been exactly 1 year. And if you guys remember, we actually met because of a trip that we took together last year. And we got stuck in the Dominican Republic. So around this time last year, we were surviving a hurricane.
We were, absolutely.
Yep. So, yeah, we're together.
I'm excited. We talked so much that it really did not feel like we haven't seen each other. So it's really like just the same long conversations we've had. We can now have them in person. But this is exciting because this is our first Tips and Trips episode where we are together.
Yes.
Like both of us, same time.
And we made a commitment that we are going to try to make sure we do this a few times a year. Because you guys don't know, I live in the DMV area and Tania lives in Houston.
Correct.
So we're never together as co-episodes.
Ever. Yeah.
We're just really excited. But
we're also streaming from Brazil. Like none of us have ever been to Brazil. It's our first time in Rio de Janeiro. We are having such an amazing time. Like this is a blessing. I'm super excited about all of this. I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too. I actually got a little emotional when I got here. I'm not gonna lie. I'm excited because tomorrow we're going to go see. We're going to see Christ the Redeemer tomorrow.
And the Sugarloaf Mountain.
And the Sugarloaf Mountain. That's actually something that's been on my bucket list. Yesterday we were saying, like, did you ever think that life would be the way it is now as far as us traveling the world? Because it dawned on us that we're actually in Brazil.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that also, I don't know how your family was. My mom took us on trips, but never anything like this. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't. We went to California. We went to Disney World and all that kind of stuff. But actually, an international trip. We didn't even go on a family cruise. Now, what my mom did is she did instill like a love for travel. But yeah, it definitely wasn't taking these kind of trips. I don't think I went out the country for the first time. I know you told the story too about your first trip being Australia. Mine was Punta Cana.
Really?
My very first, I got a passport just for Punta Cana. I didn't even have a passport. I was in my early 20s. And like now to say I've been to 30 plus countries. Like I'm in Rio. And when I tell you guys I love it here, I love it here. You'll add me to the live?
Oh, of course. It's been, it's definitely been surreal so far. I hope I added you. Okay, there we go. But yeah, it's been really surreal so far. And my mom.
I'm about to lower my volume just a moment, you guys.
Sorry, y'all. We're having TVs, as Lottie said. Turn them on. Okay, so we're back. But as a kid, we only took road trips. I think I traveled for the first time on a plane when I was 14. And my grandfather took me on a day trip to New York. We flew up there for the day and flew back.
Like, I don't even, I'm going to say this in a second when I sit back down and get us in focus. When I first started off travel, like, I was traveling domestically a lot. You know, I was in my 20s. This is when we were going to Atlanta. We were going to Miami, to all these different things. And to be honest, my travel used to look like the Chinatown bus from DC to New York, like $20, even though it might take you all day to get there because the bus gonna be late, something gonna happen. Like there was a time when I only knew good domestic travel. So now I like to be in Rio. It's amazing. So I want to share something really quick before we get started and jump into today's episode. If you didn't know, today's episode is all about group trips because we're currently on a group trip to Brazil. It's a more intimate group trip than usual, but we're currently on a group trip to Brazil. And our topic today is talking about group trips and choosing good travel companions. Sometimes my groups are as many as 20 plus people, and typically with my group trips, even thinking about the mix of people can be uncomfortable because I curate them and I host them. But before we get into that, my travel company, Travels by Tania, is nominated for an award this year from Blackwood Houston. The award that we're nominated for is Experience of the Year. Today is the very last day to vote. The very last day to vote. So if you don't mind going to the link in my bio, you can vote as many times as you would like. Just do what's on your heart and vote for Travels by Tamia. Some of the perks of booking with my company or even going on my company website is not even that. Some people like planning their own trips. That's fine. But we also have travel guides. We have free packing lists. We have travel budget sheets. I sell a travel planner that you can use as a coffee table book. But go ahead, go to the link in my bio and vote for us. This is year 6 for my company. I'm extremely excited about it, and knowing that in December I can walk away as the winner when I put sweat, blood, tears into this. I left my job for this, and so it's pretty exciting. And so if you don't mind, go ahead and vote for Travels by Tamia. You only have to vote in one category. If you want to support the other businesses, great, because there are some phenomenal businesses on the list, but I understand you may not be familiar with them. So go ahead and go to Experience of the Year, drop down to Travels by Tamia, and I would love your support. So I think we have our housekeeping out the way.
I think we got the housekeeping.
Okay.
Well, no, actually, no, we don't.
Did we introduce ourselves?
If, I don't even want to do that. Tell me what we doing. So,
go ahead and tell them why you want to make fun of me. Tell the people why you want to make fun of me.
Brazil has their traditional cocktail. And jokingly, we have been calling them Capri Suns. Now, this one right here cannot say it. And so I want her, we was practicing in the elevator with one of the locals, and I want her to tell y'all what we're drinking. What we're drinking. Go ahead, come on. Sound it out.
We are drinking.
You can do it.
Caipirinhas.
Very close. Caipirinhas.
Caipirinhas.
Close enough. So she's been calling them capriccios or capricias. And what's funny is we recently had Capricia Austin on one of our episodes, Sips and Trips, and so I told her I was going to text Capricia and tell her that she didn't name the drink after her. But let's go ahead and get started about travel parties.
Yes. And if this is your first episode of Sips and Trips, I realized we forgot to introduce ourselves. We also have one key change this week. I'm currently streaming from my Travels by Tamia page. I am Tamia, the owner of Travels by Tamia, a full-service travel company, and we have my beautiful co-host, Jennifer. Jennifer from Red Lips and Passport. If you don't follow us, definitely follow us both. And not just that, be sure to keep up with the travel content that we post, because my girl Jennifer be on it. Like, she's always posting credit card tips. If you missed her live the other day, she was able to give information about what's going on with Delta, because that's gotten the girls all in the uproar. And so, and then on my page, we also have a lot of tips for some of your favorite travel destinations, especially if you like the Caribbean and all-inclusive resorts. So, now how do you find the perfect people to go on these trips with you? Because if y'all think that Miami, you will fall out with people, try going on a long haul out the country trip with people that are not ideal travel partners.
You know what's funny is that I have never had an issue with an international trip with my travel partners.
Really?
Not once. I mean, you know, there might be like teeny tiny hiccups or whatever. But the times that I've had like bad travel partners, it has always been domestic.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be honest as well. I don't have too many bad travel experiences myself. I've had a few over the years, but because I have a travel company, I've learned a lot about travel groups and issues that they run into fast.
I lied.
You had one?
I lied. Yep. And I don't want to say the destination because they will know I'm talking about them. But this was 5 years ago, and I don't think I've spoken to this person since.
Oh, wow. What happened?
So we went to, I'm going to lie about where we went. We went to Dubai.
Okay.
And I am a person that loves luxury purchases, right? So when I do travel overseas, every once in a while I may buy a little something, because if you paid attention to our conversation with Capricia, there is benefit of buying luxury goods overseas because of the VAT tax. So that's a story for another day if you missed that live. But the person that I was traveling with clearly was not used to buying luxury goods in America or overseas. And so we went into Louis Vuitton, and I wanted to buy a pair of sandals. And before we got started, I said, This is one of the things that happened. We got inside Louis Vuitton. The guy said, "Can I get you something to drink?" And I said, "I'll have a glass of champagne." Now, for those that have never shopped in a store like that, if you tell that person that you want some Chick-fil-A lemonade, they're gonna run to the Chick-fil-A lemonade. Chick-fil-A to get you the lemonade because they want your sale, right? And so I knew that they would have champagne. I asked for a glass of champagne, and the girl looked over at me and said, "You are so ghetto," because I asked for champagne. Then they proceeded to ask me to take a picture of them while the man was helping them put their shoes on. And I said to myself, I'm ghetto, but you're recording in this store. But that was one of the few things that happened. But once we landed at Dubai, once we landed there, the person went from being a cool around the way girl to Real Housewives of Dubai. And their personality completely changed, and they talked down to me a lot. And back then, I wasn't very strong in myself. I was dealing with a lot of mental health issues, so I didn't know how to speak up for myself. But she did cause me a lot of trauma with how she treated me on that trip, because she literally, the entire trip that we were together, I felt like I was less than her. She belittled me a lot, and I was like, you know what? I realized I don't like you. And when I went back and told somebody about the trip, and they were like, I was surprised you even went with her, because none of us like her here. And I was like, wow, so it ain't just me. Like, this person is just not liking me. Yes, girl, we went to Dubai. Dubai. Because I need y'all to know I'm lying, because I have never been to Dubai before. But I also don't want the person to know that I'm talking about them.
They might need to know since you don't talk to them.
I told her Dubai. You know, it's funny because when we got on this trip, I thought to myself, I probably should let her know the reason why I keep declining her invitations.
Yeah, you want to go ahead and Jennifer's gonna go ahead and tell us the name of the person.
No, I'm not. Okay, first of all, let me tell you something. To me, it's messy. I'm not saying the person. Now, I'm a battle. It's a Matthew 18:15 situation. I'm going to talk to them
first.
What
does that verse say?
Girl, I don't forget because I'm drinking Caparines, but it say basically like when you got a problem, you got to tell the person directly, and if you don't,
this is directly.
No, it's not a video. We got 4 people that's fine.
No, and then we're gonna send them the video. We're gonna send the
have a nice life. Back to the story. Your turn.
Okay. So I would say this. Some of my stories I have to be careful about saying them because sometimes my trips be ridiculous. But I think that one of the hardest things for me with traveling people was that I traveled so much that my lifestyle in the U.S. kind of looks the same as my travel, meaning I don't wake up early unless I have to. Sometimes I've been on trips where people have been offended when I say things like, I'm going to take a nap. You're an adult, turn your location on, and go ahead and go where you're going. Anybody that's ever traveled with me, known me for a long time, knows one of my favorite pastimes is sleeping. You're going to let me sleep. If we have to be downstairs at 8 o'clock, if I get up at 7:55, we're going to make it. I'm going to make it. So whatever you have going on is your business, but I have to get time for sleep. I remember one time my college roommate said she'd never seen me awake for more than 4 hours. And I think that needy travelers are kind of hard for me because I want you to not feel like you're restricted from doing things that are important to you, and then you're mad at me because you feel like you missed something when I don't necessarily have that same fear as a traveler. People that have traveled with me will tell you, for the most part, I'm pretty much laid back. Even when we dealt with the hurricane situation, I really was chilling. Like, it has to be something.
I was not.
Right.
I was not chilling. And if you guys have been around for a while and you know the story, I was definitely not chilling.
Matter of fact, my friend was getting ready to get on the plane, and I was walking to the pool. She was like, "Nice meeting you." I was like, "Okay, girl, safe travels." I was not fast.
But I wasn't walking.
Yeah, she was.
I was running.
It was a walk-run type situation. It was like, I'm gonna stop long enough to tell you people bye, but after that, y'all be blessed.
Within the 30 seconds of me getting the text message that my flight had been canceled due to the hurricane, I had already put all of my stuff in the bag from the that was at the pool with us. I was booking my flight as I was running, and I was yelling to her, "Nice meeting you."
Yeah.
I had packed my stuff and was ready to go But I ended up staying, okay, because on the way, so before I got in the car to go to the airport, my next flight had been canceled, so I had to stay.
Yeah.
And I bust out crying, and she said, when you finish crying,
Yeah.
make me by the pool, we'll talk about it.
That's, and, I don't always have the mental capacity to help people process trauma outside of being a therapist where I deal with my clients. Like, if it's something that's not that deep, like, if I can't help you fix it, we're going to figure out a solution. I'm very solution oriented. Like, you're having a breakdown. I can't get you home. So let's first acknowledge you're not going home today. That's it. We're going to have a little hurricane party like we do in Houston, like we other cities do, and we're going to figure this out. But, first get your emotions in check because I can't get you home. I'm very realistic about what I can do. But speaking of that, that's something that's important to me in a traveler. Like, Jennifer got herself together. She came back out. She was the life of the party. If y'all know us, I love Jennifer's storytelling. We heard stories about a whole bunch of clowns.
And one day I will tell y'all this story. Yeah, literally about
but like, you have to be easy. Like, not somebody that feels like everything is a crisis. You have to be okay with letting me sleep. And I also want you to have enough travel experience to where if you want to go next door to the coffee shop, you're not scared of going by yourself because I'm going to sleep. And so it's important to travel with people that are the same kind of traveler as you. Mm-hmm. And this will save you a lot of grief in a lot of areas, because what I mean by the same kind of traveler as you, let's say that you like luxury things and you like to eat out. So you're going on a trip, you're going to go into a luxury store and purchase something. You want to go to the nice restaurants. You don't want to eat street food. If you're not traveling with somebody that's the same kind of traveler as you, that's the onset of problems. Because I know I went on a trip to Dubai with one of my friends.
But was it really Dubai or was it Dubai? Like, what's
Dubai. Dubai. It was Dubai. Mm-hmm. And so we went to Dubai, and he's a street food person. I'm scared of street food for the most part. Like, I'm not eating street food everywhere. I just really started eating food trucks in the last couple of years. And we were on 2 different budgets. But what me and him would do, we would sometimes split up. You go eat dinner at the 99-cent buffet, eat your little street food. I'm going to sit down and dine and have an experience. But it wasn't any problems, you know why? Because we know each other well enough to know our travel style. Because we traveled together before. If you are taking a trip with somebody you've never traveled with, at least make sure your lifestyles look similar and your travel styles are similar. If somebody does not want to eat good food at home, they don't want to go out to restaurants, why they taking
commercial at restaurants that have commercials at home?
Yeah, like, that's not, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it by all means, but however, I feel like if you have a choice to travel the world on a budget or not travel at all, do it. That's perfectly fine. That's one of the reasons to why I like trips where my money goes far. We've been whining and dining out here like we've been living our best life, but the dollar is 5 to 1. So we're out here able to spend, a little bit of money for a lot. But if you like that lifestyle, just make sure your traveler matches. I don't like people that say we're not going to be in the room a long time. So, I sleep a lot, and I really like a nice hotel. So don't tell me that we're going to stay in a 3-star hotel because we're not going to be there long. We're absolutely not. So travel with people that are similar to you. And if they're not similar to you in the States, they're going to be worse on an international trip.
And just remember that if they annoy your soul in the States, they're going to be 10 times worse in another country. And so my best friend, and she, I'm talking about, we went on a cruise to the Bahamas, and we went to Atlantis for an excursion. And that was her first time out of the country. And one thing that you have to realize is that if you live in a major city, most major cities, you're always in a rush, right? Like, everything is so quick. But when you go to, like, the islands or really a lot of different countries, they're not in a rush. So what seems to be taking a long time really isn't taking a long time, right? They're just going at their normal pace. It might feel like a glacial pace to you, but for them, it's normal. And so we were standing in line waiting to get our photos from our excursions. And she had an attitude about how long it was taking. And I said, go do something. Go walk around. We're in a foreign country. We are at the Atlantis. There is nothing that is going to happen to you on this resort. It is a secure resort. People just can't come in here. Like, Please chill out. And so one thing that it's a couple things that annoys me with people on trips. It's one, if you're super impatient, right? I can't get with that. If you are too scared to do something on your own, because let me tell you something, I'm going to take a nap. Now, I'm not putting you to bed too, because feel free. By all means, you can go do whatever you want. You can go on an excursion. You can hop over to the next country if you want to. I do not care. I'm going to sleep. And I need you to understand that you can leave me. We don't have to be together. Luckily, on this trip, we were all on the same page. When we finished our excursion today, everybody was like, I'm taking a nap. I think we woke up 4 hours later, and everybody was cool.
Right.
Another thing that I do not like is kind of travel partner I don't want is the kind that thinks that you have to speak English everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So,
you talked in detail about how you feel about that. If y'all
it bothers me a lot.
One of our old episodes, we actually posted a clip about it. You can see the full-length episode for us on our YouTube channel. But we posted an excerpt recently of Jennifer talking about, learn the language. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. Down here, I'm struggling.
We all are.
Yeah,
because they speak Portuguese here.
Right. And my Spanish, I couldn't get away in any Spanish-speaking country. I'm not doing so well down here. Like, I am. It's kind of ghetto. Like, I'm really, really struggling.
I mean, luckily, they've been pretty patient with us. And I think we know, like, the basics, like, ciao is bye. Is bye.
Hola is still the same.
Hola is still hello. Por favor is still please. Thank you is obrigado. But sometimes you can still speak a little bit of Spanish.
Obrigado or obrigada.
Obrigada, depending on who you're speaking to. Depending on who you're speaking to. But I remember when we went to Panama, my cousin said the language barrier doesn't work for me. And I was thinking, but we're in a Spanish-speaking country.
And the language barrier is you.
Yeah.
You're the language barrier. They're not having a language barrier. They're at home.
Because, see, when we're in America and someone doesn't speak English, what do we say?
They need to learn how to speak English.
You learn to speak English. So if you are in a Spanish-speaking country or a country that speaks Portuguese, why would you not at least attempt to learn a few words? And I say it all the time, that there are set key words that you need to learn how to say. There are even apps that you can download so that you can hear, properly how to say.
Or even make it simpler. Have Google Translate up and you allow them to, and you communicate with each other via Google Translate. I'm never going to expect someone in a foreign country to not speak I'm never going to expect them to speak English and not their native language. I think that having access to people in other countries that speak a different language is a privilege. People don't have to speak English. And when you're in places like this, a lot of people off the resort, this is not a resort, outside of the hotel, do not. And we have to be okay with that. We have to figure out how to bridge that language gap. But that's something that's disrespectful to me in general. You have people that go out of town and someone speaks their native language and they'll start talking slower or louder or louder.
Oh my God.
Just because you say, where is the bathroom out loud
at
slower,
7 octaves higher,
right,
it does not mean that they're going to understand it. I don't know why are they like that.
They really talk to people like they're slow.
Yeah. I mean, yesterday I got lost in the airport and I texted everybody and I was like, y'all, this airport has me stressed. And the main reason why I was stressed is because I don't speak Portuguese, right? And even though the sign still had English at the bottom, I was like, I cannot go to someone and say, help me, because I didn't know how to say, I can't find my gates. And so I was literally pulled up Google Translate, and the guy from the airline came over and said, do you need help? And I said, yes, you speak English, thank you. Yeah. I was really thankful, but I was going to try my best to translate it into Portuguese because I got lost in the airport in Sao Paulo.
For sure, that makes sense. And I know for me too, even getting back on group trips are always interesting. First, let me say this. If you're going to a destination, if you are not well-traveled, meaning you haven't spent a lot of time out the country, and I think that navigating Rio would be a difficult trip for a solo traveler that does not have travel experience.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that if you're a solo traveler, definitely start off at all-inclusive resorts. You can get comfortable, take custom tours and things like that. But with the group, one of my fears when I'm traveling with groups is always that there's going to be a couple of people that are standoffish or they just don't mesh. And I would say, luckily, I've done a good job curating trips to where, for the most part, people have gotten along. But if you're leading a group trip, or a part of a group trip, especially if you're not familiar with the destination or the people there, definitely make sure that your schedule has some leisure time, and also be realistic with yourself about your attitude when it comes to meeting people that are not like you. I'm very laissez-faire most of the time. Like, I'm pretty easygoing. Like, it takes a lot, especially on group trips, to set me off. But that's also because I'm the host. I'm the owner of the company. My job is to make sure you have a good time, regardless of what your attitude or personality may be like. But to be honest, that's a skill. That's a skill I've had to develop as a business owner, because if you would have met me in my 20s, I was going to cut shit out. But I don't act like that anymore. But
I am not like that.
Make sure that you know your temperament can handle groups if you're on a group trip. If you know you don't like people, if you know that you're not going to want to do a lot of activities on the itinerary, if you know that you're impatient, you cannot be impatient coming to most foreign countries. Like, for instance, here, when you finish dining, they don't just bring you a check because they see your plates are empty. Dinner and lunch is typically an experience in these countries. Like, lunch in Brazil is their biggest meal of the day, but most people sit, but it's a leisure experience. They're not rushing. You know, in America, we're rushing. We're eating real fast. They are sitting down. They are talking. They are drinking coffee at the end of their meal. Nobody's going to bring your check unless you ask for it. When I went to Egypt, I got hangry one day, and the server did not come over until we told him we were ready to order food. Like, he didn't even come check in. But that was the norm in that environment. And so know who you are a lot of times before you go on group trips with people, because if you can handle you and your emotions, everything else will handle itself.
Even tonight, we had it wasn't an incident, but we got food at our hotel, and I could not eat all of my food. So I asked the server, can I have a box? And he said, no, and walked away, right? And I was like, so I kind of looked at, one of the other people on the group trip, and I was like, dang, like, I can't just get it to go. So I said, you know what, I'm going to ask somebody else. So I waved my hand, I said, hi. I said, can I take it to go? He said, we don't have boxes, but you can take the plate to your room. And I was like, okay. But so I could have had attitude, like, hey, such.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was like, no, let me just ask in a different way, And so, you definitely have to have a different level of patience. I am a very, very impatient person in America. I don't like to, especially, so one thing that I know about myself, I do not want to travel with people who have never traveled before. And I know that sounds mean, but I do not have patience for people who don't listen, right?
Oh.
And I do not like to repeat myself. And I remember, when you go through customs, you can't have your cell phone. And I remember traveling with someone who was new to the travel world, and I said, hey, when you get to customs, put your cell phone away, right? And I was like, don't forget, put your cell phone away when you get to customs, and guess what? We got escorted out by the security because they didn't put their cell phone away. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, I said it multiple times, and you do not listen. I've given very thorough instructions. I've told the story before about how one of my friends who went to Panama last year, and I sent a long email with very specific instructions for how to do your COVID test. And I said, you need to buy your COVID test from this link. Even though you can buy these tests from CVS, you need to buy it from this link, because buying it from this link secures that you have, you can take your test in front of a proctor, right? And I said, if you don't take the test in front of the proctor, it is not valid, and then you cannot use that test for entry into the country. And my friend calls me and was like, I made a mistake. She said, I'm not going to Panama. And I said, why? And she said, because I took my test and I didn't know that I had to do it in front of the proctor. And I said, well, why didn't you know that? Because I gave very thorough instructions. And stuff like that really irritates me, and it stresses me out. And so for me personally, I know that at one time I was a brand new traveler. But when I tell you I listened to every single thing that I was told, because I didn't want to make a mistake going into this foreign country. And I didn't do Jamaica or Mexico or Punta Cana. I went big my first trip. I went all the way to Australia. And I didn't want to mess up. I listened. You need to, apply for your visa now, so that there's no issues. You need to make sure you do this, don't do that. And so is for me personally, and one of my closest friends, my best friend from childhood, is on, and she will tell you I am the most impatient person, especially if you do not listen to instructions. So for me, I need you to have like 2 or 3 countries under your belt before we actually go on a trip together, because because I'm going to snap, and I know this about myself. And so when you guys ask me to plan group trips, this is one of the main reasons why I will never plan a group trip, because 1, people don't read, and 2, people don't listen. And if you like me now, you will not like me. I'm telling you now, you will not. You will not like me if I have to repeat myself or forward you an email, because I am very much per our previous conversation, please see the highlight email below, because I do not like to repeat myself. I don't. So, yeah, you'll never have a group trip with me. Because I'm young.
I can definitely understand that aspect of it, especially like when I'm curating trips, like even for this trip. I had to explicitly say some things like, this is not the trip to break out your YSL. This is not the trip to be Gucci down to the socks. This is not that kind of trip. Like, because this city has big city problems. It doesn't mean don't come. I'm from Houston. In some places you don't need to go to Gucci down in Houston either right now, because you will get robbed, things like that. But traveling responsibly is important to me. And if I give you instructions on how to travel safely and responsibly and you don't follow those instructions, that is not on me. So if you get robbed, I'm sorry, like, I hope you got travel insurance or whatever it's gonna be. And I thought long and hard about how big I want this trip to be, what kind of travelers I would have to bring, because this trip was not for a baby traveler. It just wasn't. The flight alone could be difficult for people, but with me getting ready to start curating trips to Brazil, I'll be spending a lot of time here. The goal is to figure out how to make this trip manageable. But there are some certain personality characteristics and things I need to know that you have, because this trip is not for somebody that gets mad on a 2-hour trip to Cancun, 2-hour flight to Cancun from Houston.
Yeah,
it's not.
Yes, absolutely, because long haul flights will kind of not really test your patience.
They test your gangster, man. They test your tenacity, your all that, because
I like them. Like, I mean, my first trip was 28 hours. My longest stretch was, I think, 17 hours of flying time. I really didn't know what to expect, so I felt like if I can handle this, I can handle anything. Mm-hmm. But if you are a person that's really antsy, those long haul flights will definitely test you.
I love them as well, because my goal with a long haul flight is always to get another country in. So, like, I'm very big on navigating layovers. I started using my layovers to fit in extra places. You'll be surprised what you can get through in 24 hours in a lot of these destinations. Mm-hmm. Amsterdam, I spent 24 hours. I did just about everything the city has to offer for the most part.
Did you really spend 24 hours there because you had an initial flight back? Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah, I did not miss my flight. Almost. But I did miss my flight.
That time.
So there are 2 different experiences I offer. There's a travel by to me experience where you get all the bells and whistles and you get the professional me. But then there's travel with Tania. Travel with Tania, I don't be worried about nothing. Like, a flight may get missed here and there. I might stay up 3 extra days. Like, it's different because of the kind of traveler I am. I really don't be worried about it.
You kicked out of your best friend's phone.
Oh, y'all, let me tell y'all what happened last night.
Oh, come in the video tomorrow. Come in.
So, let me tell y'all, if you remember Punta Cana, then you know that we had our hood weatherman.
Oh, yes, you guys remember our hood weatherman. Can you wait?
You might have to come a little bit closer tomorrow.
Get in the camera so the ladies get to get. He's sleeping, y'all.
He is, and we sell him out to the highest bidder. That's how he treated me last night. So, let me tell y'all what the man did to me last night. Because he did not want to see me live my best life, and he didn't want to see me shine and just be bright and live in all my feminine energy and just be happy and excited. He put me out of his room last night. He threw me out like I was trash. Trash here is rubbish. Threw me out like I was rubbish. And I started crying and stuff. It was really a lot.
You know what? First of all, let me correct you. Okay, if y'all knew what happened last night, Jamal, tell the truth. Shame the devil.
She was being very disrespectful.
I wasn't. Because Jamal was making us drink all that Hennessy and all that kind of stuff. And me, I typically don't drink hard liquor. Ever.
All right, we're going to have to end the live. Mm-hmm. We have to now end the live. Thank you all for joining Sips and Trips live from Brazil, because
get into other countries and be sitting here telling whole lies.
You know, I came to the room. I wanted to see if they wanted to have, like, if they wanted me to read them a few chapters from this book I'm reading. And then Jamal was like, no, we should start taking shots of Hennessy.
Good night.
Because, you know, like, with me being I'm not someone that, like, I'm not going to be a party pooper. So when you say take shots of Hennessy, I was like, sure, but pour me small ones because, you know, I want to make sure I can read this book to y'all.
You guys see the size of this cup? Her shot of Hennessy was filled to the top of this cup.
I mean,
allegedly mixed with the Coca-Cola. Am I lying?
Allegedly.
No, you're telling the truth.
Allegedly. I don't recall that. I mean, the people just be saying stuff sometimes, but that's if I don't recall
The
that
night ended with her telling us not to talk to her because she was about to get a BBL.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm lying,
I am.
everybody in the room say yeah. Will I tell the truth?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, allegedly. That's what happened. I don't, you know, I can't affirm or deny because I really don't like decide. I really don't engulf myself with negative things. And so if that was their experience, it's fine, but we can all have a different experience at the same event.
Thank you for joining Sips and Trips tonight because, you know, we pride ourselves on being authentic and clearly when she's in other countries, she don't know how to be authentic.
No, I honestly don't remember.
Anyway,
Honestly, the last thing I remember was I only remember about the first 5 minutes being in the room. After that, I don't remember nothing. I don't even remember getting back to my room and putting on my pajamas. But I woke up in pajamas with I had my running on too.
your pajamas was on when we went into the room. That's what everybody had their pajamas on when we went into the room.
That was a pajama party y'all had me at.
Back to bad travel partners. This is what we mean about bad travel partners right now. But you know, last year I took a trip and I couldn't care less if this person know where I'm talking about them because we are no longer friends, and that is on Mary Had Little Lamb. But that was the first time I ever had. You know what's funny with that person was we took a domestic trip, and what was funny with that person was they already rubbed me the wrong way, and I was already skeptical about going on. Because of how bad the birthday were, I couldn't do it anymore. And after we got back from the trip, I had to go to therapy to like unpack everything that I held in on the trip because I was like, I'm just trying to make it. I just need to make it to Sunday so I can get back home. Because I was like, we were staying in the same room. I typically do not like to share a room. I like to have my own room. Because if you get on my nerves, I need to be able to get away from you. But they really rubbed me the wrong way. And some of the things that, hold on guys, I just ran out of data on my computer. All right, I am the traveler that does not connect to public Wi-Fi, so I just deal with having an expensive phone bill because as an IT professional, I do not believe that it is safe for you to connect to public Wi-Fi. So I just ran out of data on my current plan, so I had to reply to my cell provider to let them know, like, increase my network. But anyway, increase my data so we can finish the live. But anyway, I had to go to therapy to unpack everything that happened on that trip. And unfortunately, because of the level of anxiety that I had, I never was able to actually address it with her. The issue, because when I was talking to her on the trip about certain things, I felt attacked with everything I said. And I felt like if I have to tell you how I feel about why I didn't enjoy this trip with you, you're going to attack me, then I got to go back to therapy again to unpack you attacking me. And I was like, you know what, I'm cool. It was never a conversation. She just caught the hint. Like, I stopped reaching out. I would respond to her when she texts. I realized that she was good when it was my birthday, and she comment on Facebook and told me happy birthday. And I was like, okay, great. She wants to be no longer friends. That's cool.
If you don't mind sharing, like, what were the things that she was doing? Like, what did the attacks kind of look like, and how do you wish you would have been able to navigate in order to be able to enjoy your trip?
In order to enjoy the trip, I wish I didn't go. I wish I would have trusted my gut.
Okay.
The things that we were discussing were pretty personal with some stuff that I was going through at the time. But one of the biggest pieces of subliminal shade was we went there specifically for shopping. And I could not remember how much I purchased, right? And I asked her, so do you remember how much I got? And the subliminal shade was basically calling me broke, right? Because I couldn't remember how much I purchased, right? And so I was like, dang. In so many words, yeah. But even when I was sharing certain things with them about what was going on in my life personally at that time, the comments that I was getting from them, and for me personally, if I trust you enough to share, I feel like it's a safe space, right? And for me, it's always a judgment-free zone, and so I felt like for me it's always a judgment-free zone. So I was expecting it to be reciprocated. Not realizing that in sharing these personal, private things, you are putting it in your back pocket so that you can bring it up later.
Oh wow, yeah, that's definitely
Definitely. And so for me personally, when they would come to me about the toxicity that they were experiencing in their lives, I'm always a listening ear. One thing about me, I'm never going to give you advice first. The first thing I always say, one of my friends says, do you want silence or do you want solutions? Because it lets me know what my role is during that conversation. So if you come to me venting, okay, first of all, what's the premise of the conversation?
Right.
You want my advice or do you just need somebody to listen to you? Because then I know, how to handle it. So anyway, that was my most recent bad experience with a travel partner. And recently on a trip to St. Martin, there was one person on my trip to St. Martin that really irritated me. And I was like, why is it that this girl is getting on my nerves so bad? And I was asking other people, like, she getting on your nerves? And they was like, nah, she ain't bothering me. And I was like, all right, I need to go evaluate, why it is that this person is getting on me. And when I got to my room and I went to the bathroom, I realized why she was getting on my nerves. I got my period. It's a little bit more sensitive when it's a time of the month. So, but I was like, let me kind of if nobody else is bothered by this person, it has to be something with me, right? And so I really needed to go and check myself and see what is it. And that was just extra sensitive at that time.
I know for me, to be honest, one of the worst trips that I ever had wasn't with the group. It was with a male travel partner. It was with somebody that I knew that the relationship was over, but I was like, let's go ahead. It was a few years ago. Actually was probably a while ago. This person I don't know if he's crazy or not, so I'm trying to decide how much to say because I kind of feel like he got crazy at the end. And I'm going to have to help if I'm going to pick out a black dress to become fucking with me. So long story short, with the end of the relationship, we took a trip to Dubai.
But is it real Dubai? Because if it's not really Dubai, you gotta say Dubai.
Okay. Dubai.
Okay.
And we also took a cruise as part of the trip. So it was Dubai followed by a cruise. And I realized, sometimes, we're women. We like saying we got flued out, all that kind of stuff. My love language is travel. I'm not even gonna lie to you. But I don't travel with everybody. But this particular situation, we were at the end of our relationship. And I realized about day 1 or 2, for him, it was a trip to rekindle the relationship. But I realized I was done.
It was a trip to break up.
Well, I thought it was gonna be maybe we could, but I didn't know at that point. How sometimes you would date somebody, you thought you were in love with them and all that kind of stuff. And one day you wake up and be like, I don't even like this person. They have to go. At this point, I'm done. I don't want any parts of this. And so the trip was uncomfortable because we ended up being on 2 different trips. He was in love, wanted to hold my hand, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, like put my hands in my pockets, and it got really rough. And so even when you know that you're going on trips with your partner or somebody that you're dating or just somebody flying you out, you need to make sure you like these people because it's nothing like trips are intimate. You know, you're in the same room with that person. Y'all spend a lot of quality time together. If you don't like somebody, or if your relationship is like this is kind of a difficult phase where you and that person have not been getting along, time together is not always going to make things better, especially because when you travel, you have to kind of expect that things sometimes happen. You know, you may have to navigate difficult situations together. And this same person, we had to go to the airport for, I think we had a flight delay or cancellation. I know they ain't out here shooting.
I think it was a gunshot.
Welcome to Rio. Anyway, y'all hear gunshots in y'all places too. And in some cities too. In Houston, we hear them all the time. Not saying the city. So with that being said, I ended up having to navigate a very uncomfortable trip with somebody that thought that they were doing everything they could to get me back, and I was done. Like I knew at that point when I got home, this is the relationship I walked away from and never looked back. Like never looked back. I knew I had to leave when he proposed to me, and I was like, yeah. He proposed to me. He tried to propose to me at a family event, and I saw him pull out the ring, and I stuffed it in my purse. I was like, please don't, because I had already told him at the house. Yeah, and he don't know. My family know who I know as a person. I was gonna be like, but he had tried to propose before we left the house. So let me tell you how my proposal went. Every time I think I've told a crazy story, it just keeps getting better and better, don't it? So we were getting ready to leave the house, and that's what happened, Jamal. Jamal may have to take a shot at Hennessy. Pass it over. So this person I'm not really scared of, but he did at the end like become a crazy person. But
I just want to let y'all know that this time our night got started last night. And this is exactly why she got put out from work last night. But go ahead.
I would put out a better place than that. It really don't matter. So my engagement story. We were getting ready to leave the house, and he was like, "Your outfit's cute, but it would look better with something else." And I'm looking down like what else? And he was like, "Something else." And I'm like, "What do you mean by something else?" And he was like, "With some diamonds." I was like, "Some diamonds?" I'm like, "You got me some diamonds or something to make this outfit better?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he pulled out this ring. And at that point, I knew I had checked out. This was shortly out of the trip. I'm like, okay, oh shit. Like at that point, I'm like, I played too much because I had no business even still dealing with him at that point because I was completely checked out. I'm like, now he's proposing. Like, how do I get out of this? This is a big deal. Like, whoa. So I was like, that's nice. I was like, but I don't think I said much at that time. So then we go to dinner. He has the ring in his pocket. We go to dinner, and I see him trying to pull it out of his pocket. And in my head, I'm like, God, please don't do this to me. Please, please, please don't do this to me. Like, I'm already getting ready to, like, he's the only guy to live with. Like, I'm already getting ready to move out, all this kind of stuff. And he starts digging for that ring. I snatched that ring and put it in my purse. And then when we got back in the car, I was like, please don't ever try to propose to me in front of people. I'm like, I kind of need to process this and see where we are. And yeah, and when I finally left him or whatever, he got mad at me. It's one of the reasons why I knew he wasn't my husband. He got mad at me because he was like, I had to take the ring back and everything, and do you know how embarrassing it is? I'm like, tell him I cheated. Like, it don't matter. Like, you think I'm gonna hold on to a ring for somebody that didn't want to marry me? I'm gonna go back in there and be like, the B said no. But, like, I don't care. And so he tried to hold it over my head like he bought the ring and would take it back because he was embarrassed. And I was like, yeah, no. But I don't even know what made him propose to me because our relationship was not even
On that level?
No. I don't feel like it was. But then people say I'll be kind of, I could be, never mind. So, that's my story. But when me and him took that trip, I was so detached and disconnected. I don't think I could ever, and my ex and I kind of went through the same thing. Our last trip together was to Tulum. I typically, with the guy that proposed, we didn't have any arguments on the trip, but I don't typically argue with anybody on trips. So when me and my ex went to Tulum, it was terrible. We were arguing so tough in the van going back to the airport that it was like, the driver was looking like he couldn't wait to throw us out there because we was in there going back and forth. Like, it was some BS, and I just realized that for me, as someone that loves travel, that loves authentic experiences, that actually want to enjoy my trip, it will be hard for me to endure a trip where I'm with a partner that doesn't need to be our thing. Like, if we need to try to rekindle something, it needs to be a staycation. Don't take me out the country and then have me cooked up with you and I don't even like you like that.
I think that it's a good idea when you start dating somebody to go on a trip with them. I remember I was talking to this guy. We did something similar. We went to Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, and it was like within the first 24 hours, I was like, "Yeah, I don't like you," and I felt like it took that trip for me to realize, like, I legit don't like you, and there was several reasons why I didn't like him. But one of the things is I need like my partner to be well-rounded, and we were in Colonial Williamsburg, and I feel like in 5th grade in the DMV, you learn all about the Revolutionary War and colonial times, right? I don't know about Houston, but that's how it is in the DMV. And I was like, he was like, we're in Amish country, and I was like, no, we're in Colonial Williamsburg, and he didn't know the difference, right?
Where was he from?
The DMV, girl. I'm like, when did you go? Where was you at in 5th grade? But you don't know because in 5th grade, in the city that we lived in, you had to take a trip in 5th grade to Colonial Williamsburg, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was like, why don't you know this? And so I know that might sound really small, but I need you to be able to turn your ratchet on and off, right? So we were staying in this very fancy hotel. It was fancy for me at that time. And he couldn't turn his silly on. I'm down to be silly. Y'all know I have to pull up and make you laugh. But I know when it is appropriate and when it's not. And he didn't know when it was appropriate and when it wasn't. And it was kind of embarrassing. Because, we have to hold ourselves at a different standard. You know what I mean? Y'all catch my drift. And then at the end of the trip, I ended up dropping him off at home because I had drove. And then the next day, he asked me in a text message, could I finance a motorcycle for him? Yep.
I'm gonna be.
And then what's funny is that maybe like 6 months later, he ended up marrying the girl who grew up in the house next door to me. They're still married to this day. I think it's been.
How did he end up meeting?
I don't know. I have no idea. But it's been like they've been married for quite some time now. And
maybe because she financed the motorcycle.
She probably financed the motorcycle for him. That's probably what's been happening. But I was so thankful because I was like, you know what? I'm thankful that I went on this trip with him because it really showed me like who he really is, and I knew I was like, I don't like you, so it's like it's no reason for us to go any further.
What happens if you get on a trip with a man and it's not like a day trip and you don't like him? Like y'all took a little weekend adventure and you don't like him?
I feel like I would do him like I do on dates that I don't enjoy. Goodbye.
You gonna get your own room and just?
Yeah, I'm definitely down to get my own room. See, that's why it's important for you to make sure that you travel with more than enough money because of situations like that. Because of situations like that, I feel like I have gotten up in the middle of the day and been like, you know what? Nope, I'm good. I feel like I would either catch an Uber back, I would call somebody and be like, hey, can you come get me? Or I would just be like, hey, I'm just going to catch a train, plane, walk.
So you going to go home from the trip?
Possibly. It depends. I might go do my own thing and have a good time.
And then y'all going to be on the flight back together?
No, absolutely not. My flight's being changed.
Really?
I probably just upgrade first class.
See, now me, I probably would get my own room. I don't know if I would get my own room. I probably would stay in the room, but I literally would go do my own thing. I would just be leaving and not say nothing. And then if he started getting petty or something like that, depending on where I'm going. But I definitely would fly back with him. I would sit back next to him, having lived my life, and not say 2 words to him.
Nah, I couldn't do it. I got anxiety. I'd be sick to my stomach the whole time. So it's best that I either be somewhere further up on the plane or just on a whole different place.
Yeah, yeah.
Y'all want to hear a funny story?
We got time to go to the doctor.
It's gonna cut us off. I think it's gonna cut us off about to finish the story. One time, if y'all know the story about the clown guy, he was going through some things that he had told me that he was going to take me to Mexico. He was like, when I finish going through what I'm going through, you've been so good to me, I'm gonna take you to Mexico. And at that time, I had never, I haven't had no man fly me out.
You haven't got any job?
No, I still never been flew out before. But I was like, yeah, because I'm like, I'm a hoe for a trip. Like, I would love to fuck man to fly me out on this trip. So I got so excited, and I was buying bathing suits and stuff like that. This is during the height of the pandemic, so the flights were super cheap and so were hotels. And so I had asked him, I said, hey, like, did you book the hotel? And he was like, book the hotel. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, is your passport valid? And he was like, oh, I gotta check it. He was like, well, why are you asking on my passport? And I said, well, you told me that you was going to Mexico and like everything is good now. So like we're going to Mexico, right? Like when are we going? I gotta get a job, I'm going whatever. And he was like, I was talking about Mexico restaurant. If you are from Waldorf, you know that Mexico restaurant is a restaurant in White Plains, Maryland. The food is good and it's cheap, but that is not where I wanted to go. I wanted to go to real Mexico and get a real taco.
He was a clown.
Literally. You know the story.
I know. He was a clown and all
For
that
real.
with his life.
But I told y'all yesterday, what's so funny is that this guy is now dating another travel content creator, and I wanted to slide in her DM real bad and be like, hey, do you know?
I believe sometimes you gotta learn stuff for yourself. So this
Yeah, I said I was going to mind my business, but I really hope that I run into her one day so that I can be like, hey, how many was dating so-and-so? Tell me about your experience so I can tell you mine.
She gonna be like, girl, we're engaged. And then what you gonna be like? Cause now you're talking about that girl fiance.
You proposed, didn't you? Because he said all his fiancés proposed to him. Have a good night. Thank you for joining us.
I know you in line. Turn this camera on.
No, it's giving Jim Jones and Chrissy. Yeah, all his fiancés proposed to him like 9 times. All right. Good night, y'all. Thank you for joining.
Bye, y'all. Don't forget to vote. Do not forget to vote. There are some strangers in the room with us that want to say hey. And this is the first one.
Well, we already let y'all meet Jamal.
We met her walking in. This is her. You recognize her? Isn't she cute, y'all? This is our videographer, photographer. This is Lonnie. So if you ever need a videographer, photographer, Green Rebel Photography is my girl Lottie. She's my ace gonna come when we travel. Jamal not coming back, but everybody else in here, y'all still here. Jamal.
If Jamal can't come back, neither can I. Everybody have a good night.
Bye.